Acting President Yemi Osinbajo reaffirms government's commitment to defend the rule of law, just as the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) assures motorists of adequate supply of petroleum products. Plus, discussion on funding the health sector in the wake of Africa's communicable diseases. These and more on today's Panorama with me, Ogwa Vivian Onyedibia. The acting president, Yemi Osinbajo, has reaffirmed government's commitment to defending the rule of law and protecting the lives of Nigerians, regardless of religion or ethnicity. In a statement by the Office of the Vice President, Professor Osinbajo says anyone who violates the law, despite the limitations of the criminal justice system in the country, will be made to face the full extent of the law. He says with President Muhammadu Buhari's instruction to security agencies, military and the police to send in reinforcements to southern Kaduna to enforce peace, his administration will continue to defend and protect lives of all Nigerians. Acting President Osinbajo calls on political, religious leaders, traditional rulers and all Nigerians, especially the elites, to work together to find a lasting solution to the crisis and resist the temptation to succumb to divisive tendencies. Well, Nigeria has signed African Union Convention on Cross-Border Cooperation. The ceremony was part of sideline engagements by heads of Nigeria's delegation to the 28th Ordinary Session of Heads of State and Government of the African Union and Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Oyema. Omini Oden in Addis Ababa has the report.
The Miami Convention, adopted in 2014, promotes cross-border relations at local, sub-regional and regional levels. It aims to ensure peaceful coexistence and resolution of border skirmishes among African countries. Nigeria is the 11th country to sign the convention.
On the part of the Nigerian government, I would like to assure you that we will do everything possible on our side to abide by the rules of this convention.
In attendance was the Minister of State Foreign Affairs, Hajia Khadija Buka Ibrahim. The AU headquarters is a beehive for activities, last-minute preparations for the final summit, which is coming up on the 30th to 31st. Delegates are given final accreditation. The media also is involved. As we speak, the media center is a beehive for activities as correspondents, journalists, editors, producers are busy trying to beat deadlines, all from various interests, all about the narrative for the African continent. Some of them reacted this way.
My expectations at the 28th AU Summit are that we are going to be very busy as journalists, running around looking for interviews. Not everyone agrees to your interview request.
It would be really nice to see the AU resolve this issue, have a debate, have a constructive debate without being divided.
A retreat held at closed door by the heads of state and government of African countries took place ahead of the main summit. Omini Odan, NT News.
Experts, researchers and decision makers in the field of non-communicable diseases, NCDs, converge on Nairobi, Kenya to rub minds on prevention, treatment, cure and roll out multi-sectoral action, as well as discuss issues around NCDs, policies and program. Health correspondent Rashidat Mustafa Olagunju reports that participants will also share emerging evidence and identify research and policy gaps that need to be addressed at the regional level.
Described by some as diseases of mass destruction or dangerous killers, NCDs are responsible for more than 38 million deaths annually, with developing countries accounting for 75% of the figure. If present trends are maintained by 2020, experts said NCDs will be attributed to 7 out of every 10 deaths in developing countries and globally kill 52 million people annually by the year 2030. With statistics such as this, it comes as no surprise that the African region identified the prevention and control of the diseases as an important discussion of item on the continent's health agenda.
Research programs at the country level should be increased and data should be disseminated in a simple way that our politicians and communities can understand.
The need for policymakers and communities to mobilize and make prevention and targeted treatment of such diseases a priority was also highlighted.
How do we use the data to advocate for government giving NCD a priority that it deserves, especially in the policy arena? How do we use that information to advocate with other partners, including government, to actually fund NCD research?
Currently, the non-communicable diseases does not have any budgetary provision in the national budget. And we try to see if we can get this going in 2017 appropriation, but as I'm talking to you now, we have not made any headway. And there is no provision for non-communicable diseases in Nigeria at this moment.
Another cultural action that featured prominently in this forum is the integration of prevention and care of NCDs.
Well, we seem to have issues with the pictures there. Well, still on health, with focus on funding the sector for Nigerians to have better healthcare services. I'm being joined in the studio by Mr. Sunday Okoronkwo, his program officer with Scale Up Nutrition in Nigeria, and a member of Partnership for Advocacy in Child and Family Health. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now let's start, our discussion with how much is allocated to the health sector in this year's budget and its percentage.
Thank you very much for having me. Currently in the 2017 budget, health sector got about 304 billion naira allocated to it. That comes to, when you compare it to the national budget, it comes to about 4.17% of the total national budget of the country. Permit me to digress a bit and go back a bit. If you look at, for example, the 2016 budget, we had about 250 billion allocated. And so if you compare it to the current one, there's a bit of increase. But the truth is, if you look at the current economic situation in the country, the fall in the naira, and the rise in the dollar, you'll find out that the increase is marginal and may not necessarily really bring the kind of needed change to the health sector, basically.
All right, let's talk about the impact of this now. You were speaking about the improvement now in the budget. What's the impact of this on healthcare delivery in Nigeria?
Well, the impact is enormous. It's enormous in the sense that even though, like I said, there's an increase, the increase is not what it ought to be considering the economic situation. And if you look at Nigeria, looking at statistics, some by development partners, data shows that every day we lose about 2,300 under fives to all manner of diseases. And also, daily, we lose about 145 women of childbearing age, especially during when they are about to give birth. We lose them because of probably inadequate some health services that they need to survive, or, for example, the fact that some of them didn't do proper family planning, because a woman, by standard, it is said that there should be at least 2 years gap between each child in a family for a woman to be able to survive probably her next childbearing period. And so if you look at that statistics, calculate it in a year, what that turns to is that each year we lose over 800,000 children on the 5 children. Wow. Yeah, we do. And then each year we also calculate that number. It means we lose over 500 women of childbearing age. For a country that is striving towards progress to meet some of the SDGs and what have you, this is a trend that has to be reversed. And you can't reverse it without adequate funding. Basically, you can't do that. And I must say that the country, the current government is doing its best. But the truth is, if you look at the importance of the health sector and its implication in the life of women and children in the country, you find out that the health sector ought to be prioritized, and more funding ought to go there because health is wealth. You can't talk of the wealth of the nation without talking of the health of the populace.
Now let's talk about the AU declaration and the 1% consolidated fund to health. How are we faring in those areas?
All right. Like you rightly said, in 2001, African leaders gathered in Abuja, and they made a declaration to commit 15% of the total annual budget to improve the health sector. Nigeria signed on to that agreement in that 2001. But the truth is, from 2001 till date, the only time Nigeria has crossed, has done the best time we've ever committed sufficient, to some extent, some percentage that is higher than every other one is in 2012, where we committed about 5.95% of the total annual budget to the health sector. But from 2001 to date, it's been dropping. Like I said, if you look at in 2016, it was barely 4.13%, and now in 2017, it increased to 4.17%. Yes, there's increase, but it's negligible compared to the challenges. And the truth is, if you look at other African countries that signed on to this same agreement, you find out that they are doing very, very well. For example, Rwanda, a very small African country, is doing, as at 2011, they are doing about 23-point-something%. Zambia in 2011 is already, that's 10 years after the declaration, is doing 16%, and so on and so forth. So smaller African countries are keeping to that declaration, but for Nigeria, well, I believe we will do better. And then if you talk about the 1% consolidated revenue fund that was supposed to be committed to improving the health sector too, you find out that the National Health Act was signed into law in 2014. But from then till now, government has not committed that 1% that is supposed to have been committed to operationalize that particular, act. And the truth is, if you go to our hospitals, if you go to primary healthcare centers, you find out that there are so many services that are not available. There are so many things needed in the hospital that is not provided. And the truth is, it's all because of inadequacy of funding. Yeah, funding.
Well, now let's still talk about, do you think Nigeria's health sector can deliver with the present allocation?
I'll say no.
Why so?
I say no with caution. Looking at the economic situation, we have to tell ourselves the truth. Because if you don't tell yourself the truth, then you're not ready to move forward. Okay. The truth is the current allocation to the health sector is inadequate. It cannot fund adequately the several services that Nigerians need to lead a healthy life. 304 billion may look sound big, but the truth is, if you convert it to the dollars, it's less than $1 million. Yeah. In 2016, I know that we committed just also 250 billion or so. If you convert it to the dollar as at then, it came to about over 1.2 billion, dollars, or over 1.2 million dollars. Okay. So even though it seems as if there's an increase, face value increase of about 50 billion, the truth is the real value of that money when compared to dollar, which is the most stable, means of purchasing and stuff like that across the world, you find out that we still under budgeted and stuff like that. And the truth is, if you look at the problems, I'll just give you a typical example. My wife, a few days ago, went to one of the hospitals to fix implant for family planning. Okay. And on getting there, the truth is that she had to go outside the hospital to buy the commodity she requires, to be able to do that. Yeah. And after that, you have to buy soap and all what have you. I'm not saying it's wrong in itself, but I don't think that's right. What of those who cannot afford it? What that means is that they won't be able to go to this hospital and get the care they need. And what does that translate to? That of people who are supposed to contribute effectively to the future of the country, basically. So that's why I say no. It's not adequate, and I hope the government will do something about it here.
Well, let's have your take briefly on your call to policymakers and health sector funding. What do you have to say?
All right, like you rightly said from the beginning, we're from PACFA. The PACFA project is a social accountability project, and it's focused on 4 key issue areas: routine immunization, nutrition, family planning, and also what's the 4th one again? Eradication of childhood killer diseases with focus on amoxicillin and zinc ORS. The truth is, the first thing we are calling to the government presently, because it's still possible, it was done last year, even though the budget had gotten to the National Assembly, somehow it was reviewed, to some extent. So the country, considering the current situation, can as well do something, because if we don't increase the current, budget size of the Ministry of Health, they won't be able to deliver on their services to Nigeria. So the first call to them is we need to increase the budget allocation to the Ministry of Health. And also the child and family health sector, it's also a peculiar one, like I said.
Oh, sorry, sir. We have a limit on our timing. But so good to have you here to discuss with us.
Thank you.
Mr. Sunday Okoronkwo, they're discussing funding the health sector for Nigerians to have better healthcare services. Moving on now, still on health, Nigeria has joined the global community to commemorate the 2017 World Leprosy Day. Murjanatu Adam Said spent some time at the Alheri Yangoje Special Village, designated for people who were once affected by leprosy.
The World Leprosy Day is annually observed to promote human rights, freedom, and reduce stigmatization and discrimination among people and communities once afflicted by leprosy through the provision of assistance, medical care, love, support, and compassion. This is Alheri Special Village in Kwali Area Council of the FCT. It is a village with a population of about 1,500 persons and families living with leprosy deformities. It was built and commissioned on the 8th of May 2007 by the then President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo during his second tenure. Alheri is close to Abuja. 67-year-old Ali Isa is the Sarkin Kutare of Abuja, that is, the leader of the people who have suffered leprosy disease or are still suffering from the disease. Like most residents of Alheri village, Ali Isa was once afflicted by leprosy, which led to his being taken to the colony. Leprosy no longer exists in Alheri village. In fact, Ali Isa's 2 wives, Suwaida and Hadiza, are held and healthy, just like his 2 children and 17 grandchildren, proving wrong the old superstitious beliefs that once a family has a history of leprosy disease, children and grandchildren of the afflicted and even those closer will be affected. The fact remains that once cured, it cannot be transmitted to another person. Sarki Ali believes, just like medical records have shown, leprosy is not hereditary, witchcraft, or gwanje, nor a curse. The fact remains that most people in Alheri village had leprosy, have been cured, and are now living their normal lives, proves that it is a disorder that can be cured when detected early.
We take advantage of this to spread the message of leprosy.
Leprosy is still endemic because we are having some sporadic cases.
You can imagine from 250,000 around 1991 to about 2,892 at the end of 2015 for Nigeria.
Back in Ngoji village, their challenges include lack of specialists to attend to their medical needs, despite the presence of a functional hospital, primary and a secondary school. While appealing for government support, Sarki Ali and other members of the colony say they will continue to depend on the Leprosy Mission Nigeria and few other philanthropists. The theme for the 63rd World Leprosy Day is to live, is to help to live in Abuja. Murjanatu Adam Said, NTA News.
You're watching Panorama on the network service of the NTA. Let's pause for some messages now. More reports shortly. Stay with us.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Together, no matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together. Let's stop fighting each other. Let us live as one. It doesn't matter where you come from, your tribe or religion, man, woman or child. It doesn't matter who you are. Put Nigeria first. No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together.
How can we develop when we're always in crisis? Families have become refugees in their country. No matter our differences, show some understanding.
No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Thank you for staying tuned. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, has assured motorists and other consumers of petroleum products in the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Niger and Nasarawa states and other parts of the country that the fire incident which affected a truck at the Suleja depot at about 4 o'clock Sunday morning would not affect adequate supply of petroleum products in the areas. Nigeria Pipeline and Storage Company Managing Director Luke Anele said a team of NNPC and Niger State Fire Service officials rapidly put off the fire, affirming that no depot equipment was damaged during the inferno. Barrister Anele clarified that the fire incident did not affect the loading section of the depot, assuring that normal loading, bridging and dispatch of products have continued. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Group Managing Director Dr. Maken Tibaru has been fully briefed on the incident, that facilities in the depots are in good shape. NNPC assures the public of adequate sufficiency in products, urging motorists and other consumers not to engage in panic buying. Moving on now, clerics in Abuja have admonished Nigerians to continue to pray for the unity of the country and the leaders for God to turn around the economy and total peace. Superintendent Christ Apostolic Church Durumi, Pastor Michael Olatunde, stated this as part of his message at a Thanksgiving service. Correspondent Ifeanyi Zumba reports on this and others in Abuja.
At the Christ Apostolic Church Durumi, members thanked God for the gift of life to see another month. Pastor Olatunde, who took his text from the book of Isaiah, said, willingness to obey God is an indication that they are serving God, who would in turn bless the land.
The Lord is on the throne. Nothing happened that God will not know. So therefore, let's continue to pray. If you pray and I pray, everybody pray, we love each other, everything will turn to God. and we are going to rejoice and praise the Lord.
Why is the church wandering away from God? Was the message at Methodist Church, Gwarimpa, with the theme Circuit Covenant. The Very Reverend John Eze challenged Christians never to give up.
When tensions come upon the church, that's the time of the nation. That's when the church is expected to pray, because Jesus Christ died and the power of death could not hold him captive. On the third day he arose and ascended into heaven. I advise my fellow Christians and ministers to be optimistic and to believe that God is still in charge of the affairs of our nation.
And I believe that whatever is happening now is for the good of the church.
Glorifying God for his faithfulness at the Methodist Church, Nigeria, Nyanya, Reverend Samuel Naughty told the congregation of the need for Christians to make evangelism an important focus in their lives.
Must know and let people know that he and he alone can save us in this nation. At this time in the history of our nation, that God will turn our situation around.
Abuja, Ifani, Ezumba, NT News.
And now sports. Ghana sends DR Congo packing from Africa Cup of Nations as Egypt is now battling Morocco in a North Africa derby to complete the semi-final pairing, as Nigeria Rowing Federation prepares athletes for African Championship. Plus, Roger Federer wins 5th Australian Open title. Adiola Omokivie brings us up to speed on Sports Update.
The Ayew brothers gave Ghana the victory over DR Congo to become the third country to make it to the semi-finals of the Nations Cup behind Burkina Faso and Cameroon. Both goals for Ghana came in the second half to end scores 2-1 after DR Congo pulled back one.
Ayew sends the keeper the wrong way.
And as the 31st Africa Cup of Nations comes to an end, Nigeria's absence at the tournament has paved way for the NFF to re-strategize and provide enabling environment to prepare the Super Eagles for subsequent tournaments.
That's one lesson that all of us must learn. I think that also the NFF has learned that we need to be a lot more open about the plans, tell people where the problems are, and don't try and solve all the problems.
Plateau United still holds on to their lead in the Nigerian Professional Football League as they beat Abia Warriors 2-1 in the Week 5 encounter. Bukola Saraki were 2 goals better than Shooting Star Sports Club of Ibadan as Wiki Torres trashed, visiting Ifeanyi 3-1. President Nigeria Rowing Canoe and Sailing Federation at the end of a 2-day national open time trials to select athletes for the Africa Junior and Under-23 Sprint Slalom Championship in Morocco charged them to continue training in their various locations.
We've gone into Olympics twice, and so they want to make sure that those athletes are getting aged. So we're not trying to see how we groom some home base, not foreign base most of the time.
60 athletes from 10 states and 2 clubs featured in 24 events. 12 athletes will be selected to represent Nigeria in Morocco come 29th March to 1st of April 2017. Roger Federer in a dramatic 5-set thriller beat Rafael Nadal 6-4, 3-6, 6-1, 3-6, 6-3 to claim his 5th Australian Open and 18th Grand Slam title. Roger Federer recovered from 15-40 before firing a forehand into the line that required the Hawkeye to confirm it was a historic win.
Hawkeye decides the outcome. It's in!
There's no draws, but if there was going to be one, I would have been very happy to accept the draw tonight and share it with Rafa, really.
This is Roger Federer's first win in 5 years. With sports updates, Adeola Omokivie, NTA News.
Well, that's our package on Panorama. Do stay tuned to the NTA for more news bulletins and programs. I am Ogwa Vivian Onyedibia. Good afternoon.